Hi, good people. I think it's
Hello.
it's good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Basically, there's something that has been going on in town currently, and I wanted to have a little talk. As I promised you, I started talking about it yesterday, but now I've decided to bring the economist and also the social guru to unravel for us the mystery that is going on. So he's called Eric. I know he's going to introduce himself, but these are the lines, the things that I want him to talk about. So currently, Eric, there's something that is going on. Actually, the conference is supposed to kick off today at the KICC about the ICPD, about the introduction of pills to under 18, I mean from age 10, and then the introduction of gayism, and then the exposure to sex to the children that are still in primary school. They want the children to be taught very well about sex, about pills, about gayism and lesbianism, which we call LGBT. So I thank, first of all, I really thank Mr. President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, because he said that is something that they cannot he cannot fathom to. I mean, that is a tall order. We believe in our culture and we need to embrace our culture. We cannot be introduced to other culture. And the same thing I saw Aden Duale, who is the majority leader in the National Assembly, also rebuking and saying that they will throw them seriously. And again, I also saw John Mbadi. John Mbadi is the minority leader in the National Assembly. Also said that our culture must be respected. And then I saw the Christian communities, the Secretary General were also like condemning, and they were planning to go to the airport to stop them, or rather start demonstrating from there. And therefore they called all the Christians to go to the basilica and also discuss about these things into details. So being that this thing is a thorn in the flesh to us, the parents and the guardians, because we will not see our children, our young people getting into systems or behaviors which to us, I mean, vitu zenye tulikuwa tunaona kwa view sasa ama kwa ginene kwa radio ama kwa TV, soap opera na kadhalika. So kindly sir, what's your thought? Talk to us, talk to people.
Thank you very much, brother Odunga Junior, man from the south of Kavirondo.
Yes sir.
And my name is Eric Ouma, as my brother has just mentioned.
Yes sir.
And I have very strong reservations about this issue of LGBT and this issue of introducing contraceptives to children,
yes sir,
yeah, etc. So I will just cover it blanketly, but I hope my point can help sensitize people on the importance of the same. Well, in Kenya,
yes,
in Kenya, we are African. We are socialist.
yes,
You see, when Kenya got independence in 1963,
yes,
there was a very huge political ideological war between the West and the East. The West being UK, France, the US, and the East being China and Russia. Those are the two major superpower blocks in the world. So they are mostly Western, and they are all jostling to get Africans to align to either of these sides. It was like looking for political ufuasi, following in Africa. But there was one leader in Kenya called Tom Mboya who introduced a concept called African socialism,
yes,
which would neither align to the Western or Eastern way of socio-political life in African countries, and in Kenya to be specific. So he was really sensitizing people that whatever political way of life, the socio-political way of life in Kenya should neither align to these white styles. We should invent our own, because you see things like this LGBT and gays, they are things that are acceptable in the West, but are not acceptable in our African
context.
context.
We are still struggling to even understand them, you know.
Exactly, and this is what I call colonialism episode 2. These people colonized us.
I didn't expect that.
The West.
Yes.
The West and the East.
Yes.
Colonized Africa and brought in their ways of life, their ways of administration. They imposed these things on us, and we fought it in the mid 20th century. That is why Kenya and many other African countries got independence between 1950s and late 1970s, early 1980s. So these people have just come back with another counter strategy, you see, to recolonize us, but from their own homes, coming up with things like this LGBT, you know.
And then now through donations,
yes,
donor funding.
Yes, because
and
they know
this. They're using even the human rights, human activists, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah,
the height of that
to
is
monopolize, yeah.
Exactly, and that is why any African leader who comes up with an idea that will give Africa some sort of total financial, social, you know, economic independence from the West, that we will not need to tegemea the West as such. They're brought down like Mboya and Gaddafi were. So my stand on LGBT and these whole issues of introducing contraceptives to kids. Number one, why are we getting to the point of introducing contraceptives to kids? This speaks to the moral decay. You see, so instead of addressing the weeds at the base of the tree, we want to cut down the branches. So is that solving the situation?
No, not at all.
It is up to us as parents, as the church, as leadership, community leadership, to come up with, can I call it a framework of intentionally restoring morality to our society. The food we eat and things like this, they say affect us. You see, nowadays the foods that are being even some of these GMOs, they trigger the estrogen levels even in kids. That's why we find kids wanabalehe quicker than they used to before. How do we counter this? Even these GMOs and all, they're from the West. They're not of our own.
So Mr. Eric,
Yes.
Mr. Ira, do you think the system, currently the government has failed us? Is it our political leaders who has failed us? Is it our spiritual leaders or our parents themselves who has failed us?
The failure starts with us ourselves. Because the primary responsibility, the primary responsibility of bringing up a socially moral community starts with us as parents. A nation itself, they've found right at the foundation of a nation is a family. With no families, you can't have any nation. So even there's family, it's like a chain: family, village, community, society as a whole, which is now the nation. So everyone has it's what we call collective responsibility. The parents and guardians have a role to play. And parents being in the African context, you see nowadays in the African context, you are the parent of even your neighbor's child. But with nowadays, ukisikia jirani amechapa mtoto wako, you want to take him to the police station. That is very wrong. That is the devil bringing in Western cultures to destroy the moral fabric in the African society.
Yes.
Because they know once things like gayism, lesbianism come up, more of these diseases that they manufacture, like HIV/AIDS, I can confidently say HIV/AIDS is a lab manufactured disease.
My goodness.
By the West. I'll say it here today.
I told you.
So that they can
the oracle himself is now speaking. I told you.
Thank you. So they can be supplying ARVs and all these things and keep us dependent on them. If you look at the onset of HIV in the late 80s and 1990s, HIV wiped out about 10% of the African population. There was a genocide instigated by the West through this disease they brought to us called HIV.
My goodness.
Worse than the Holocaust that Hitler meted upon the Jews.
My
worse.
I'm telling you now, listen.
So if Hitler was killed like a rat, the Western leadership of then should have been subjected to the same. that notwithstanding, my dear brothers and sisters, why introduce contraceptives to school? It speaks to a community that is now giving up. Tumekubali sasa, there is no turning back. We are on a downward spiral that cannot be salvaged, and all we can do is employ damage control tactics. So what's worse, tumekubali our children are having sex from 10 years old. So let's avoid them being pregnant. Let's avoid that. Not forgetting that there's what we call spiritual implications of these kids indulging in such things. And you know what will happen next? The next group, these kids will be the next MPs. So they will change the age of consensual sex from 18 years to 10 years. So can you imagine your 10-year-old daughter being in a sexually explicit situation with a 30-year-old man?
No, I mean
because
it's a tall order.
because one thing really
yes.
If you are someone who has some bit of intellectual sense residing in your head, intellectual sense, one thing always leads to another.
Definitely.
That is the nature of the humanity as it is. You set upon something, you'll want to grow. In Christianity, we say you sow a habit, reap a character. Sow a character, reap a destiny, etc., etc. You know. So if we saw this habit of giving kids contraceptive and showing them that it is okay, what the chain effect? What next? And then thereafter, what next? So can you imagine what the society will be like in 100 years time?
My goodness.
Our great grandchildren.
My goodness.
They'll be walking naked and having sex in the middle of the streets in broad daylight.
I can't imagine.
These things were foretold in the book of Revelation.
My goodness.
And Christ is coming back. If you people think that anything different was happening in Sodom and Gomorrah, that made God angry and wipe out a whole generation, if you think it was anything different than these orgies that are going on in offices and these all sorts of immorality that now we want to embrace and make part of our own life, then think again. Because I always tell my brother Robert and Kevo, who are my spiritual accountability partners, the wrath of God. If you are to choose between the wrath of God and sitting on top of a volcano that wants to erupt,
my goodness,
my brother,
don't say.
Choose a volcano. Choose sitting on top of a volcano.
My goodness,
whose lava wants to erupt, than being subjected.
The way the furnace is damn hot, man.
Yes. You've seen what a volcano looks like when it wants to erupt.
I know.
You'd rather be at the center and on top of that mountain than be subjected
to the wrath of God. My goodness, folks. Those people who were subjected to the wrath of God, I'm telling you, hey, we cannot even talk about them. But two things which are very key. Number one, the book of Psalms talks very well that spare the rod, spoil the child, which is talked about very well. That means the government must do introduction of kiboko,
corporal punishment,
punishment to our kids. That is number one. Number two, which is very key, that is talked about. We've got to know our roots. Some of us here in Nairobi, ama in the city, we even don't know where our great father was buried. We even don't know. So it's high time you need to go and get deeply to the roots of your forefathers. From there you build up. You get to know where did they do the mistake, how were they upcoming, things like that. Then we'll have a better society to live in. Bye for now. In everything, God above all. Bye bye.